Welcome to Mobile Sauna Stories, Australia edition. My name is Galina. I'm the creator of Sauna Cult, a mobile wood-fired sauna experience based here in Brisbane. And in these interviews, we're going to talk to mobile sauna owners across the country to find out what challenges they're facing, how is it like to run mobile sauna in Australia, and where did they get the sauna from, or even how to find their first location. That's a tricky one. So stay tuned. Let us know what you think, what are the questions we should ask, and enjoy. Today we have guests from Victoria. Audrey and Harry, the creators of Håut Hutt, will share their story with us. We will discuss what's the difference between electric and wood-fired sauna, how to find your first location, and how to grow your local sauna community. Okay, hi guys. Can you please introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself first?
My name's Audrey.
And I'm Harry.
Yep. And you are the owners of Håut Hutt, right?
Yes, Håut Hutt.
Yeah.
It's
Håut Hutt.
We found it's a very tricky name for Australians to pronounce.
Yeah. What does it mean, by the way?
It's just me being playing with words on paper, so I'm just more of the design person. Apparently, we accidentally realized it means skin. And Swedish, was it?
I think Swedish.
Yeah, and like a grand structure. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I don't know. I just liked how it looked. But it was kind of like, we're in Australia. We don't speak any Swedish or anything. So I just wanted to make the design kind of resemble where we're coming from, but be a bit more modern.
Yeah. So the right pronunciation is Håut Hutt.
Yeah,
right.
Very much.
Yes,
H-O-T,
like hot.
H-U-T, but just together just looks a little bit better written like this on the t-shirt. So.
Yeah, true.
That starts the conversation. What is that?
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, please, a little bit more about your saunas. You have 3 of them, right?
Yeah, so we started off with our backyard sauna, which is called Paloma. We then added our larger, more kind of the big business sauna, which is the Mondo. So that's sauna, change room, and cold plungers, and that's a mobile one. Then we added the Juniper, which is a smaller mobile sauna that's just sauna. So they're all named after our 3 dogs.
Oh, wow.
So in the beginning, we were like, well, do we go electric and then we can plug it into places, or do we go wood-fired? And just through research and talking to our builder, he was like, wood-fired is the way to go. Plus, it's more romantic. It's more traditional. At nighttime, you get the glow of the fire and the sound of the crackling of the wood. So we found that's a lot easier to do on the mobile aspect, whereas our Paloma in our backyard is electric. That one's super handy for personal use, but also the sessions that we run. You can do it on the app, turn it on any time. So it's a little bit easier for that style. But yeah, the mobile ones we found had to be wood burning.
Yeah, we did the same choice, but now I'm a little bit regretting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it takes 2 hours to heat up the sauna like properly.
Yeah. Our smaller one, because it's a smaller size room, takes about an hour, whereas the big one, I allow 2 hours, but if we're pushing it, you can get it done in like an hour and a half or so. The outside temperature, like in winter, you walk into the sauna and it's already at 0 degrees out. Whereas in the summertime at the moment, you walk in, it's sitting at 20 to 30 degrees inside already.
Yeah, I know. Tell me, please, how did you discover saunas, like first time in your life?
First time, I would say it had to be my dad was really into saunas, but he wasn't into it per se. He didn't really know, I don't think he knew the benefits, but he just knew it really relaxed him. So as kids, we would just kind of jump in with him or in the hot tub or something. So that was kind of my first experience with getting hot to relax, I suppose. And then we started just learning that there was so many benefits to sauna recently, like probably over the last, 2 years ago.
About 2 years. You start listening to a few podcasts and I feel like saunas kind of had a bit more, I guess, talk about in publications and like just the information regarding saunas kind of got more and more readily available. So once you kind of start doing your research into it, you realize huge health benefits in the long run and the short term. So we're kind of like, well, what if we add this to our daily routine?
Put one in our backyard.
Started with that and then realized, yeah, like this can be a more commercial kind of operation and something that we can offer to our alpine community.
Yeah. So what did you do before you started sauna business? Was it related or not really?
Since we moved up to Bright, so just before the bushfires and COVID, we've both been doing hospitality, and then just realized that we kind of wanted to work for ourselves and have something that, you know, you put in long days, you put in all that energy and effort, and then you kind of get all the rewards and benefit out of that. So we're both in hospitality. Prior to that, I was in construction management in America. That's what I went out there to study, and then worked in San Francisco building high-end custom homes. So I've kind of brought that management and project side, logistics side
Logistics guy.
to the business.
I was doing winemaking, so lots of cleaning of tanks, and so I realized I'm still doing the same thing in saunas, doing lots of cleaning, but lots of meticulous detail work. Yeah, and something a little bit more healthy. It's nice to be able to promote something that is healthy, where before it's like, oh, I'm not so sure everyone should be drinking alcohol, but now I can just be like, everyone definitely should be saunaing, which feels really good.
Yeah.
So when we were thinking of how to do something for ourselves here, it was, what can we bring people together to do that's really cool way to meet people and do something that's healthy. Originally, I think it was rock climbing was one of our other ideas, and I just feel like the sauna felt a lot better. Just felt like it felt right.
You mentioned that you have a builder, so you like custom made all your saunas, and it was like made by somebody else.
Yeah, so
I tried to design some interesting little.
Yeah, we work with Mark down at Drip Saunas out of Melbourne. So custom sauna builder, all he does is build saunas. We got in touch with him a few years ago and like, hey, this is kind of our plan. We want to do this commercially. We want to do mobile ones, which at the time he hadn't done, but he was up to the challenge. We kind of worked with him in the design and what we needed and what his requirements were for the Mondo, the big mobile one. That's a tiny home trailer. So we went to a tiny home builder, got them to make the trailer for us to Mark's specifications, dropped off the trailer to him, and then he built the sauna onto that itself. So we've definitely learnt a lot with each sauna as we kind of go and what we find works best and what you kind of need. So it's been really good to learn and grow with him as well. So we spoke this morning about the Mondo down there. It's getting some maintenance and some changes made to it that we've kind of realized over the last year probably didn't work the way that we thought it was going to in the design phase. So making a few changes here and there. So hopefully going forward, it runs even smoother.
Can you give me some examples, like what you realized, understood during this process that, okay, like we need taller ceilings or wider benches or something else?
We definitely needed to double measure before every time they came out finished. I'm like, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be out, like as it's structured. So, you know, there's lots of trees up here. So we definitely have to avoid a lot of tree hitting.
Yeah, we went with a flat bottom trailer. So it's already high. Plus we've added drainage underneath. So then that adds for height. And then the saunas are just tall themselves, plus the roof design that we went for. They're pushing the limit of like height vehicle regulations.
Yeah, I know.
They're not designed for aerodynamics. So we live about 4 hours away from where he builds them, and getting them up 4 hours away takes a bit of time, and that they're not light trailers or saunas at all. So definitely, I think if we do another mobile one, would consider more of a smaller aerodynamic version. I'd say just it's the smaller things that you don't really think about. Like you can get the sauna size room and the windows and all that stuff, but it's more just like how everything kind of works, like the doors, the views, the lights. We've got cold plungers on the Mondo, so that was the drainage on that. How do we get the water in? The chilling aspect of it. It was all of these things that we did that, and also Mark hadn't really done much before of the cold plunge side of things. So it was a big learning curve, and we've now gone back to him like, hey, let's change this, change that, add in a bigger chiller with more airflow to make it easier on the units in the summertime. So yeah, just things here and there that we realized, and the more people that went through, they recommended changes, and they're like, hey, this works, that doesn't. We kind of found that talking to people and what they expected out of it kind of gave us more understanding of what and how they thought it would work.
What type of cold plunge do you have? Is it like a stainless steel?
Yeah, so we went
Taps.
with a stainless steel vertical tub with cedar exterior. We found just the vertical ones would be easier on the size of the deck that we had. We were thinking about the lay down ones.
I find that I thought that would be more difficult for people to want to lay into the cold. So I figured crouching was a nicer approach for a lot of people.
Took up less space, and then we had a deck built around it. So you step up onto the deck and then into the plungers. So that's worked really well. There's 2 plungers on the back. I think if we went with 3, it would have just been much too big of a trailer. So yeah, those have been working pretty well so far.
2 is a good number. We have only 1, and sometimes people are waiting. Especially if we have some experienced people who like can sit a few minutes, like everyone else is just like,
yeah, like the turnover, because we run with a maximum of 6 people in a session. So we have added a little third plunge just off the back deck, and that's not chilled. That's just kind of, if it's in the middle of winter up here, you don't really need to chill it. It just is naturally cold. But we found also having different temperature tubs works really well for different crowds. So we will always try and have one that's very cold or 2 that are very cold, and then one that's more approachable for people that don't cold plunge.
Yeah.
That's been a really good thing. So like in our backyard one right now, we have one set to 6 or 7 degrees and the other one's around like 13, 14. So having the different temperatures works well for a lot of people.
Yeah. And you have like 2 chillers, right? Separate chillers.
So we've got one chiller on the big sauna that runs both. And then on our home one, we have one chiller, and then another one is we're just pumping water every day. We are in the process of redoing our backyard area, and they'll have 3 different plunges. So there'll be one very cold, one cold, and then one kind of just an ambient.
Yeah. I feel like Audrey wants to say something.
Just talking about chillers, that was a big learning of where to get your chiller from, one that works properly.
We've gone through a few different chillers, and hopefully we've now found a few companies that are based in Australia, so it's a little bit easier to deal with. They're hopefully going to be more reliable.
Ice gets quite expensive to chill things. How do you chill yours?
Well, first we bought chiller, but only 1 horsepower first.
Yeah.
Our problem that we pretty much our location is like a frying pan. There is no shade in there. And right now, like in Brisbane, like 35, 30 degrees. And it just radiates heat. And people, of course, do like when it's 34, they're like, nah, sauna, okay, like whatever, but you need cold plunge. And our chiller just didn't keep up at all. And we also don't have electricity. Very big minus of the current situation that we have to run generator. So we were like, okay, the chiller, it seems like something bigger and more powerful. So we replace it with 2 horsepower. But then generator, when it's super hot, just shuts down and can't keep up sometimes because it overheats. So it's like, and then we also bought a chest freezer, the small one, just to add some ice and help the chiller, in the beginning. But still, it's like, I feel like 90% of labor right now, it's servicing cold plunge.
Yep. Yep, definitely. We've found that because where we locate the big Mondo sauna, that one's in a field, and there's a creek, but we can't use that water at all. So I bring in the water in an IBC and then pump it in, run it, and then when it's not good enough, we pump it back out. But yeah, that plus running ice and the chillers off grid, it's a difficult thing. We run the EcoFlow big battery packs. So they run the chiller, the lights, and the shower on board. So that's worked out well so far. We'll see how it goes with the new chiller. And if we need to add another battery pack to last the day, we can do that. We thought about doing the generator route, but we just kind of realized I didn't want to have as much noise as it looks into like big quiet ones, but they still kind of make a bit of noise. So you got to either put it a distance away. You fix one problem and you realize you've got these other problems that then come with that. So it's been a good learning curve and kind of like problem solving project for that.
Did you think about solar panels?
We do have a solar provision. We just haven't, because we weren't really going to run it much during the summertime. So during winter, I don't really need to worry too much about the chilling of the water. It runs a lot more efficiently. So yeah, we do have the ability to run solar and plug it in and then hook up our battery so that it can run off that. But just haven't pulled the trigger on that just yet. So maybe that's a next summer sort of project.
Do you have your batteries somehow like underneath the benches, or they stay separately?
They stay outside. So because our trailer's tall enough, we've got enough space to kind of roll them underneath. Because I bring them home and charge them overnight as needed. They weigh about 30-ish kilos, so they're not super light, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm able to lift them at the moment and it's kind of just me out there. So they work well. It's got, 240. It runs our 12-volt pump as well. So it manages everything that we need at the moment. Eventually it would be nice to have like little on the front of the trailer on the drawbar, have a little box or a container and kind of live in there so they're a little bit protected from the elements. Yeah, just when it rains, I put the cold plunge tub covers in front of it just to kind of protect it a little bit from the rain.
How many batteries do you need to run one cold plunge?
We run 2 simultaneously and
Yeah.
it draws from the spare one first. But I think when I worked out the draw of that chiller, it should last us about 7 hours.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So right now, I saw on your website that you have only bookings for the sauna that in your backyard, right? That's because summer and that's your program for summer.
Summertime, the land that we lease, the owners come up, they camp over the summertime because it's kind of just a nice time to be up and bright. So spoke to them, like, look, we're happy to shut down. Audrey's also very pregnant and nearly due with our first child. So we're like, well, let's shut it down out there because I can spend 8 hours out there because 2 hours lighting the fire plus, 4 hours of sessions plus. So I was like, well, let's just bring it close to home so that if I do need to leave and go to the hospital, we're able to do that pretty quick. And this one is pretty easy to run. So if we need to go away, my family can come in and run it for us.
Yeah. And you have 2 hours. People can book 2 hours before the session starts,
Yeah, so
right? Yeah.
Because it normally takes that time to heat up or get going. So it's kind of always just there ready to go. And if someone does book last minute, like the other day, someone called a half hour before a session. I was like, yeah, come on over. Nice and easy. There was still space in that session. So we're open to people jumping in last minute. But yeah, it does help us plan our day out if they do book ahead.
Yeah, that would be perfect. In my case, I feel like we have maybe 30% booked in advance, but a lot of people, they just book, 1 hour, maybe 2 hours in advance, but I'm already running sauna. So it's ready, should be hot and cold plunge should be cold. Even if we don't have any bookings, if we have days when we should be open, we should run everything because people book last minute pretty much.
Yeah. We found if there's a day where it's super hot and no one's really booking in and it gets to that point, we'll just shut it down. On the wood-fired one, it's just too much effort and energy sometimes to do it for one person. And we've even considered doing it to where you need a minimum amount of people to kind of start it up. I think we've seen that in other saunas in New Zealand, but then we got to the point where if someone books, let's just kind of run it.
Yeah.
I noticed you have different sauna session durations. Is that difficult to match them up together?
Well, actually, no. It actually gave some flexibility because I used to have sessions starting, at 12, then 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. And if people somewhere in the area, because we are on the land of the tennis center, and if they're in the area and the new hour already began, they need to wait almost 1 hour for the next session. But when I have these 90 minutes sessions, each session starts half an hour. So the waiting time is less, actually.
Yeah.
But not many people book 90 minutes. I feel like I only had 4 or 5 people booking, and 2 of them were Japanese guys, and they like to take things very slowly and properly. But most people 50 minutes. I even try to run half an hour sessions because this tennis center, they have function training, yoga and stuff. And I thought, maybe after training session, people can just quickly go for half an hour or in the evening. No, didn't work. People were coming, but they were coming not for half an hour. They were coming for 1 hour and more. Well, which makes sense. For sauna, you don't want to rush, for do everything super fast. You just really want to relax, do like some cycles, rest between sauna and cold plunge. So yeah, we didn't attract the super busy people that we hoped. But yeah, like other people, yeah, they were booking half-an-hour sessions because probably they were the cheapest one. But actually, everyone needs more time. Even 15 minutes, I feel like it's not enough.
Yeah. So
Because
we run hour sessions and you tend to get about 3 hot and cold rounds in there.
Mhm.
And we added a 15-minute buffer in between just to kind of flip it, get it cleaned out, wipe the sauna down, get new towels, get everything sorted. So that way, like, you just weren't having customers on top of each other, kind of like doing.
Mhm.
You still get it, but it's nice that
Yeah.
the previous session can kind of be slowly leaving, or the next one can slowly be coming in, and it's a nice crossover. It does limit you, like it expands your timing a bit.
Yeah.
So we're okay.
Because I went to Finland a few months back and most of the sauna sessions I was booking there were for 2 hours. So you get a lot longer, but they kind of take longer breaks in between. A
Mhm.
lot of them had bars associated with them. So you'd have a beer in between, kind of just hang out. And they're more like that longer session, more social, kind of hanging out a little bit more. So it was really good to go there and see how they run their saunas compared to what most Australians are doing.
Yeah. That's the same in Russia. I'm from Russia, and yeah, sauna in Russia, it's more like when you cook meat and barbecue, and it's more like 3-4 hours event.
Yeah.
You know, like proper like family or friends gathering, and yeah, not like yeah, but in Australia, but also like if you have it in gym, you of course you go in like for like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like outside outdoor, yeah, I feel like it should be something 90 minutes. I feel like 90 minutes would be like some golden number, to be
Yeah.
honest.
There's a local guy that's Eastern European. He brought his whole family over here, booked 2-hour sessions back to back and brought the sauna whisks and just, they did the whole thing for 2 hours. And because we were like, at that point, it was pretty early on when we'd been running the saunas, we were kind of hadn't seen that side of the sauna. So it's really good to talk to him because he'd been doing it his entire life and it was a big part of their lifestyle. So it was really interesting to see that side of it and also just kind of learn more about how saunas from different cultures throughout the world do the same thing, just slightly differently.
And bringing kids into the sauna. So I didn't really think that was a thing. And of course, the youth are really into it when their parents are bringing them in, and it's like a good way to start life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had my first sauna when I was like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. But for me, it was like a, like proper deep cleaning, like once per week. Like we had shower at home, but once per week on Sunday, it's like a super deep cleaning. And I hated it because I couldn't understand why people see it when it's so hot, it's so terrible. Like when you're small, you overheat like very fast as well. So yeah, pretty much hated saunas till 20s, probably.
Yeah.
And then I'm slowly starting to love them more and more and more. Right now, I go to sauna like maybe 5-6 times per week, like in my gym and when I'm working in our sauna. But yeah, before that, it's only like last few months I'm doing this crazy schedule. Before I was like once per year, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I turned 30 and something clicked. And I was like, okay, now we need sauna.
Your body starts to get old at 30 and you're like, okay, probably need to start sauning more frequently to make it last longer.
Yeah. So, am I correct that your first location for like public, when you opened to public, was your backyard?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we started with events.
Oh, okay.
We did Spartan, Buffalo Stampede, just like a lot of like local events. Bright's pretty special in that I think 40 weekends out of the year, there's some sort of event going on. Most of them are outdoor athletic based.
Yep.
So we started with those. Matt Murphy, our local gym coach, he then brought us into his gym. So we'd set up on Saturday mornings. We'd do a workout at 7 a.m. and then everyone would come in and book a sauna session that we do from like 7 a.m. until midday. So people were able to try saunas for a lot of them was the first time. So started with that, and then we tried to find land in the area. That proved to be more difficult than we originally thought.
Lots of driving around and creeping.
Yeah, just looking at land, driving around, just exploring the whole area.
Who owns this area?
So
We find them.
over Easter weekend, we leased the football oval from our local shire. Did a little pop up there. It was, it's a big weekend. We just wanted to be open somewhere. That was kind of like the first time that we ran our normal kind of sessions, or what we would deem a normal session.
Mm.
When we still couldn't find a bit of land, we were like, okay, let's open the backyard sauna, see how we go. It was still very early days then. It started off with all locals. It was all just word of mouth. They'd tell their friends. They'd see us, we'd do another event, talk to more locals. It just spread that way naturally, which I found was a great way to start. And then from that Easter weekend pop up, a lovely couple met us, had a chat. They owned a property out in Freeburg and they ran accommodations out there. They wanted to add something more for their guests and just for the broader community. So worked out with them to put the sauna on their property by the river. So over winter time. So winter here is a busy time because we're an hour to both Mount Hotham and Falls Creek. So skiing season. So it was really good to have all the skiers that they'd go ski all day, come back and then just jump into the sauna and recover over the winter. So that kind of winter period was when we first really ran the big mobile sauna for an extended period of time, and definitely learnt a lot in terms of mornings are very quiet. Certain times in the evening were much busier. So really kind of learned from that first few months, and then we changed it going forward to offering more privates, and then kind of trickled down the sessions as well. So that was the beginning of how we ran the sauna.
So your plan for the winter, also you go into the same piece of land, or you have some?
We're not out at Freeburg anymore. We'll go back to where we were for the springtime. So it's 5 minutes down the road. It's nice and close. It's got a beautiful view of Mount Buffalo. So over the springtime, you would sunset right over the top of the mountain. So it was a bit more open, a bit more visible.
Easy access, private.
Easy access.
Farmer just not using that little block, which is nice. It seems like the farmers have lots of good land out there that's being underutilized. And they're happy to get paid, what is it, monthly for just doing, just having us sit there, and
we maintain the land and mow it for them. So when they finish in camp, it's all ready to go. So yeah, they've been lovely to deal with so far. Like everyone that we've spoken to and dealt with has been fantastic.
What's your arrangement? Do you pay fixed price or the percent of your profits?
For these guys, we pay fixed price. And then on top of that, we have to have a toilet on site. So we rent a portable toilet that goes off in the corner, just for those times that you need it. And then we also have a mower come in because it's about an acre of grass. So if you don't stay on top of it in the springtime, it gets pretty overgrown. Plus, we're in a snaky area. So it's always good to be able to see if there is a snake nearby. Luckily, haven't had any yet, but there's always that risk. So over wintertime, it should be a lot easier. Mow, so it's kind of that daily upkeep of the location.
Did you try approach local city council for locations?
We did.
I see this face.
Even before we had the mobile saunas, we went to local council, had a chat with them, like, hey, this is what we want to do. It doesn't exist in the area. How do we go about it? Like, what do you need from us? That was about 8 months or so of no real answers. They kept saying, talk to this governing body. I'd speak to them. They'd say, talk to someone else. And they'd say, talk to someone else. And kind of just went in circles a lot. Got to the point where I realized it was probably easier to go private land. Just made it way easier. Our shire or council doesn't really allow mobile businesses on Crown land or council land. So
even food trucks,
food trucks are very difficult. They have to be on private land or like the caravan parks. So it was very limiting on where we could kind of go within their managed land. Just seemed easier in the beginning to go with privately owned land. It's easy to deal with them.
Just more networking. So we always are asking around. Whenever people would come to the sessions, we would say, I don't know, well, we're always looking for a new location if anyone wants to collaborate. And then people, guests would come up and be like, hey, actually, I know someone with a good block of land. And that's how we found where we found most of the time. Or even if you want to do a pop-up, they'll say, hey, I'd love if you guys come out and, just do a sauna for a day out here, or, something like that. So it's just nice to always, in this town especially, you just always say something that you are looking for, or you need, and then you ideally get connected with them eventually.
Yeah, that's the huge benefit of having the mobile saunas is we can move. We can go to a location. We can do all these events. So a a lot of our local customers that come over from Mount Beauty, so it's about a half-hour drive over a hill, over a gap. Half-hour drive there, hour session, half-hour drive back. So that's a 2-hour round trip for them. Well, late December, it was kind of like winding up the summer season. So we're like, well, let's take over the mobile sauna over to them. We'll do a day pop-up. People can book in ahead of time. You organise it with one of the local caravan parks over there. They are right on the river. They've got steps going down. We dropped it off there previously for a private rental. So we knew how it worked. We knew the space. They filled up pretty quick, showed up, and they would just do the sauna, walk on down to the river, cold plunge in that, and then rinse and repeat. So just kind of opened up more doors.
Yeah. Yeah, we found the same. We also tried city council, and they either asked insane amount of money. We have a central park in Brisbane, and they said that they want $3,000 per day for a piece of land 6x6, no electricity, no water, because they think it's like a promotional activity. And we like, well, we want to be there for a few months. Like we want to like improve people's like health, mental health, everything. And they're like, no, there is no benefits for the parklands.
Yeah.
That's so expensive.
Yeah.
We've found, speaking to all the other mobile sauna business owners, that finding land and dealing with council has been the hardest thing to actually get the business going. I try to give our council as much information and like give them the answers. So another shire near us has like a mobile health permit, tried to be like, hey, here's this framework that's in a shire nearby and you use this, but then add it for saunas. Minneapolis, in Minnesota, they're big on saunas. They have a specific mobile sauna permit. So it allows these mobile sauna owners to like, hey, here's some land. You can run it there. You can leave it overnight. You can do it over this period of time. And I was like, here's this framework. And it just didn't really work with our council, unfortunately.
Yeah. I feel like people a little bit more comfortable with wood fire pizza truck.
Yep.
They kind of like, the same like concept. You have fire, which everyone seems like to be afraid of. But wood fire sauna, people just freaking out. They're like, no, what? Fire?
Yeah.
It's so scary. Can you replace it with electrical maybe?
That's what we found. So
There's wood fire pizza trucks here. So.
yeah. Because we're in a fire area, we need over like fire season, so we get fire permits. In the beginning, they were like talking to the CFA, they're like, you don't need a permit because it's an enclosed structure. It's essentially like running your fire at home. They then came back to me like, actually, we're going to treat you more like a wood-fired pizza truck.
Mm-hmm.
So like you do require a permit, which each year coming into fire season, we just talk to them. They just give us our permit so we can run in those hot days in the summertime.
Yeah. So pretty much like finding land and getting all these permits, did you expect that you will need to do all of that when you started?
When we started, it seemed like, we can just kind of go out there, talk to people. It should be kind of more easy. I was hoping the council would be a bit more forthcoming with
small
business and like, hey,
innovating
new to the town and it's good for locals. It's good for tourism. We're a big tourism town. So I thought it would kind of lead and I guess snowball more quickly and easier than it probably did. But I found, it's just trickier than we originally thought.
We're young and we have energy. A few older folks would look at us and say, oh, you would never get this through. And you're like, well, I'm patient. I'm ready. Like, what steps do I need to take to get this going? It's almost like you need somebody who's in that. What was the person who helped
town planning?
A town planner who's not in the council to help you. I think someone locally used somebody to help them get a permit for a mobile sauna on Heritage. Was it Heritage?
Floating sauna on land, yeah.
Which that's pretty difficult to do, and they got it through the council. But they used somebody outside who knew how the system worked, which seems really helpful. But it is another expense. But it's just patience. Maybe we're just too soon.
Yeah, too early in the sauna world for Australia.
Mm-hmm. I feel like in New Zealand it's such a thing already, and I heard that they have some sort of countrywide public liability, so like everyone is insured and covered no matter what you're doing, something like that.
Yeah, because We were in New Zealand a few years back, and there's the sauna project. So we tried to go to one of theirs, but just didn't work with our schedule. But it looks like they've been popping up more and more throughout New Zealand. They've got tons of lakes over there, tons of beaches. So whatever like their model is and whatever the government regulations are, it seems to be working a lot better in New Zealand than it does in Australia. Hopefully, I guess all it takes is one sauna business here to kind of get their foot in the door and get approval. And then hopefully from there, it can then pass down to everyone else and make it a bit easier. But it's just going to take that one, I guess, council or government body to be like, yeah, this sounds good. Let's kind of roll on that.
Tasmania looks like they're having a good sauna tourism situation.
Yeah, they have some like sauna boats, like boat
Yeah, so
floating
they
saunas.
come out with the
I think those
Tasmanian sauna trail. So I think there's like a dozen saunas
Tasmania.
down there. You can kind of just hop around Tasmania, visit all the saunas. A lot of them are boats. They're on water. He's got plenty of lakes and the beaches as well. They're starting to do it on a bigger scale than the mainland.
Yeah, true. So how many years you guys already doing sauna business?
Coming up on 1 year since we first
1 year?
started. So I think March last year was that first event. So we're, just coming up on a year so far.
That's a lot, and you have like 3 saunas already.
Yep.
Yeah. When do you think you will return your investments?
Probably not for a little bit. First year, we kind of knew it wasn't going to be super busy, but it was kind of one of those ones where we considered going the smaller, cheaper route, doing like a barrel sauna on wheels. And we were like, well, I feel like up here we will outgrow that too quickly. So that's why we went with something bigger that we can then grow into, opens up, I guess, more opportunities for more people to do it. So yeah, a large initial cost, I guess, from the get-go.
I think, not having the space that you are grounded in to then really hone in your schedule for saunas made it a little tricky to be like, we're going to go full power here, but everywhere we've been nestled, you're not sure how long you're going to be there for, so you're kind of unsettled. So I think this year, hopefully, if this landowner loves us enough, it'll be nice to have that solid foundation to then be like, okay, we can do lots of events that we've planned on doing to then hopefully make the money back and have a more consistent schedule and be more full for more of the year. Where we've had to shut down quite a bit this year to kind of shuffle around and be like, we don't have a location, hold on.
Yeah, a lot of just moving around, and like one sauna was open, so we'd move people to that one if they'd booked the other one. I think just, now we can be more consistent. We've been around. We finally figured out how to use Google and get onto that so people can actually find us, whereas before you'd search us and you just couldn't find us on the internet.
Yeah.
Figured that side of the business out, which took us probably longer than it should have.
Not really a tech wizard.
No, it's not really.
Colors and design.
But it's been good. And like every time someone comes out, we don't know, I'm always asking them like, oh, how'd you hear about us? So they're like, okay, found you on Google, looked up things to do in Bright, and saw an Instagram post. Someone they follow on Instagram saw a video that they posted coming here. It's kind of, now there's many different ways to find us and then book a session from there. So it's been a really good learning curve to, how to spread the business name and word.
Yeah, we pretty much have similar problem. Right now we're in one location, but we're so tucked away that people just don't know that we're there.
Yeah.
Even if so I put some flags on the road, and it seems like most recent people, they come and they think, yeah, we saw flags. We drove like 10 times maybe. And then we decided, well, maybe we give it a try, after driving 10 times through our flags.
It looks like you're tucked away a little bit from the
road.
Yeah, it looks like
like a little bit
quiet location, which is what you want in a sauna. That's why we've tried to be more nature, but it makes it a little bit more difficult. But it's definitely worth it. It's just, getting people to find it is definitely tricky. We've
done flyers everywhere at all the caravan parks, billboard postings, put up more flyers there. A lot of the accommodations in town, just give them a few flyers to find. We finally put a flag, like same thing, like up at the front of our property. So one guy came the other day, he's like, oh, I just drove past and saw it, looked it up online, and then, found us. So it's all those little things just over time kind of accumulate to be able to make it easier for people to find you.
Australian, what was it? The tourism website.
TW?
TDW. It's like
got it. Yeah.
It's a tourism database.
That seemed to be really helpful.
That definitely helped a bit.
It just kind of puts your business across multiple websites in a similar way with other tourism attractions, and that definitely seemed to make people find us on Google as well, which was very, very helpful.
We are also on this website, but I feel like since Brisbane is like relatively big, we just somewhere, in the end of the list.
We're a small town, so there's not as many things or options up here. So it's probably harder in the big cities.
Yeah. Do you feel like your guests, they're mostly locals, or you have a lot of people who are making special trip?
Say in the beginning, it was 90% locals. We found we do the class packs. So a lot of them would just buy that and they'd just come more frequently.
Locals have, our town loves to have local discounts. So that was definitely a good, helpful offering, is to make sure they always have a discount. So I think that helped a lot to get support from the locals. And now that people can Google us, it seems like it's 30.
I'd say, yeah. So it's still mostly locals. So yeah, it's good that we've got a local community. Even though we're a very small population, they're very keen on regular saunas. At the moment, we're peak tourist season, so I'd say it's maybe 80-20 to the tourists at the moment. But come middle of the year, it'll probably go back more to, I guess, more locals.
I haven't really advertised in Melbourne much or any other surrounding cities, so not really sure how to do that.
Yeah, we're still working with a lot of the tourism boards up here and doing some photo shoots and spreads. We were part of a wellness article written on the town a few months back that was published in The Age. And then I actually didn't know it had been published until a sauna guest came up and said, "Oh, we saw you in The Age. We were coming up, so we'll give you a try." So there's kind of more and more of that, people finding us from out abroad, or a lot of the people that come to town, they're oh, no matter where we go, we Google sauna. So they're all for saunas wherever they travel. So we've had a big amount of those tourists coming through.
The athletes are starting to figure out the football teams are starting to inquire about recovery sessions. So that's been helpful. And hopefully we can set up more for footy clubs and
wellness retreats. Bright's a really good spot for a lot of road cyclists and runners, training camps. So we're still working on the best way to accommodate larger groups, just because ice baths, we've only got so many. We had the Melbourne footy team up a few weeks back when they were doing pre-season training, so we had both the smaller wood-fired sauna going and the other electric one, so both saunas, and then we had as many plunges as we could, running bags of ice for them. It's learning to hey, we can offer bigger groups a shorter time session instead of if you have 6 people at a time and you need 24 people, there's 4 hours right there on a normal kind of session. But being able to get through more people and get those bigger groups in has been really fun learning curve.
Yeah. So do you guys do that full time, right? That's your only business?
Kind of.
A little bit more than full time?
Yeah. I also work with my dad doing food import and export. That's something that I can do remotely. I can do it, in between sauna sessions. Just mostly importing food from Europe into Australia, into the local supermarkets.
Some cheeses? No?
Yeah, we tried to do cheeses. Mostly pastas and desserts out of Italy.
Yeah.
So that's another side of things that I do with my family.
Yeah. Who is into photography? I've noticed that each of the posts has Kodak.
I thought I wanted to have a whole a very slow social media presence where I don't like when people are in my face. So I just personally am trying to keep it slow. And I thought that by mostly doing film, it would keep it to a slower pace, just because I have the photo right away. But I do some digital, but as it's very handy, handy for moments. But just
it looks beautiful,
slow and
I also like their copywriting. I even saved this phrase that made in Australia to withstand our landscape for many moons. That's also Audrey, that's you?
Yeah, I'm just the creativity director.
Yeah.
Sweat facilitator.
Yeah.
Just having fun with some language and colors, and I love photography, but writing's also really fun.
Yeah. well, everything looks amazing, really. I'm just was looking at Instagram and I was like, wow, I want to go there. When are we going to go to Melbourne? When are we going to go to Victoria?
Yeah.
Oh,
The next,
too far, right? Is it hot
yeah.
there right now?
In Brisbane? Right. Today, I think it's like 30, maybe 29, but you're going to have 36 on Thursday. So yeah, I'm just a bit scared.
Yeah, we found on the hot days up here, it's less busy. But then on days where it's raining and stormy, they tend to be really busy for us because there's less things to do on bad weather, rainy days up here. So like we just had a storm the other day, and yeah, people just love being in the sauna as it's raining. Weather's a bit different. We had a friend do a session. We were back at the other location, and so you're looking at Mount Buffalo, storms rolling through, there's lightning, rain. It's a different vibe in the sauna because you're warm and cozy in the sauna, and you go outside and it's just like windy, rain, storm. So
Yeah.
See why saunas do so well in bad weather areas.
Yeah. Nice. Actually, I noticed that so far, but we like just opened in mid-November, so we don't have enough data. But actually, I feel the opposite, that when we have super hot days, people want to come, but I feel like they want to come for the cold plunge.
yeah.
Which is very hard to make cold when it's 35 degrees.
Yeah. So we'll find it the opposite in wintertime is people want the sauna. Because like when I was doing saunas with friends in winter, we didn't even need the cold plunge. You just stand outside because it's 4 degrees. So it's different seasons. Like bright's nice, and then you get all 4 seasons. So like we get proper winters, we get hot summers, and then you get your beautiful springs with everything going green. You get your autumn colors in the autumn. So it'll be really good to kind of get another full year under our belt this time.
So that's your plan for this year, right? Yeah, so be like pretty much open full time.
Yeah. So I think we'll kick off the Mondo sauna again in April for a little bit, and then kind of go from like early May onwards for all of winter and all of spring as well. And then we'll see kind of how far into summertime we go. We may then bring it back to the backyard sauna for the summertime as well. Just a little bit easier to manage, not as kind of labor intensive.
Way more shade too.
More shade. So yeah, that should be, I think that's kind of like the year plan.
Do you have the small one, right? The mobile small sauna? Do you let people take it, like tow it themselves?
I haven't had anyone need to tow it. Ideally, I drop it off, set it up for you, give you the wood, the fire starters, the know-how. I've got a little manual for that. So I actually had a walkthrough with one of our neighbours yesterday. She wants to rent it for her birthday party at the end of March as an option. She's right on the river, so they'll use the river as the cold plunge. So yeah, we found if you can light a fire, you can run a sauna.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I get nervous. I'm like, oh, our little baby's going to this house.
Well, yeah, we found people absolutely love it. We've taken the big one up to a friend's property up at Mount Buffalo. So yeah, hopefully this year the private rental of the sauna kicks on a bit more than what it did last year. Maybe we'll kind of push that a little bit more. It's a little bit, it's easier for us. We give you the sauna, you do the thing. I mean, we have our other 2 saunas as well. Yeah. So hopefully it's that.
That's hard to catch on.
Yeah.
I noticed do you rent out your venue?
Oh, well, technically we have that optional on the website, but
That's really good.
We don't have any bookings yet. We have like it's private sessions, but it's the same 50 minutes, but just booked for like a group, or sometimes it's usually a couple coming to enjoy themselves. But yeah, nobody booked the whole venue yet. But this was our original idea, actually. It was like a wellness event at your backyard. But then we bought 2 big trailer and built 2 big sauna. And now it's became like too hard to move it all the time. Because it's like tall, it's heavy, and it's like we need a car. And so we decided, well, actually, maybe we should find some location, at least for a few months, and then just run it for locals. And I feel like we need smaller sauna to actually move it around.
Yeah.
Harder than
I think we were the exact same, like get the big one and you realize moving this and setting it up is quite a nightmare. Whereas like the small one, it's easier, it's more mobile, more nimble.
It's not even small.
It's probably actually taller than the big one just by the design of it. So
whoops. Computers and then reality. It's very
Yeah.
You guys built yours yourself, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. Very.
And we're not builders actually, but yeah, it was our first building project.
Well done.
So I was figuring out, how to build walls, what distance between studs should be, what insulation to use, what vapor barrier to use, and I just took 5 books in the library how to build saunas, and read them all, and then I kind of started to plan to build it.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
everyone kind of asked us, like, "Oh, did you build it yourself?" And I was like, "No, I wish, but
It wouldn't have gotten built.
it wouldn't have been as good a construction." So yeah, very happy that Mark, what he does is just, it's very well built.
Yeah. Well, it looks like, at least on the photos, it looks awesome.
He would tell us, no, you can't do the height like that. You have to have the bench like this. You have to have,
Yeah.
we had I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, you can't, your design is too abstract. We need to be more practical on some of that sauna ergonomics or air
Yeah.
things. I'm like, okay, fine. You're the professional, which is good.
Did you have any funny stories, like fails, that you planned to do something and it went some like completely different way, and you had to like solve or change your plans?
The first one with the pump, but that was first time you tried to set up. Another one.
That's fine.
You tried to get
Oh, so we were running our backyard sauna in between seasons, and our electric elements weren't working. So the electric sauna just wouldn't heat, and it was essentially broken. So we had sessions booked all day, and in a panic, luckily we had the smaller mobile sauna at the top of our property. So I just raced up, put that onto the back of the truck, drove it down,
a couple trees,
hit some trees, busted up our chimney, which I tend to do a lot. Because it is so tall, I just forget. Got the car stuck because it was it was winter, and it was all mud. Eventually got it set up.
All the sauna guests are just looking at you.
Yeah, they're luckily, they were locals, so they kind of just understood that it was just a moment of panic. Eventually got it set up, lit the fire. Next group showed up, told them, I was like, hey, just give us a little bit longer. But they were super understanding. And luckily, yeah, the wood-fired one only took an hour to heat up. So we were back to operational. So yeah, we ended up running the wood-fired sauna out of our backyard for, I think, a month and a half, until we got the replacement parts for the electrical sauna. That's why I really like wood-fired saunas, because if you've got a fire, you've got heat.
Yeah. So you also have Hume electric stove, right? And something got broken inside this.
Yeah, the somewhere with the elements, I think they just kind of moved, and they might have touched and shorted, so like one of the elements broke.
They made a new device that holds your elements in a nice way where your rocks won't smush it. I think that must be a new update they've done.
Yeah, so it's now working fine, but that was a stressful day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Things just don't function. Like if you need the water pump to work, not working, and you're like, we have a session starting.
Yeah, dealing with water, I've found, is the hardest thing. Like, it's easy to get the sauna hot, that's no stress, but just getting the water cold and dealing with the water and just getting it in, getting it out, that whole thing that's been probably the hardest side of the business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for us the same. We really wanted to start just with sauna. And then when we were talking to people and saying, hey, we're building a sauna, and everyone was like, oh, and cold plunge. And we're like, no, just sauna. Sauna is so good by itself. And they're like, okay. And then, so we pretty much realized that, okay, nobody's going to go to sauna, it seems, if we don't have cold plunge.
Yeah, a lot of the emails we get are like, oh, the cold plunge is included. So a lot of people think like it's either just sauna or just cold plunge. So it's, just kind of, you get both as a package in the same session.
Which seems nice. Those who are on the ocean in Australia, you're like, oh, that's nice. People can just jump out to the ocean. But then the ocean is kind of warm, so then, I don't know.
Yeah.
That does seem very handy. It'd be nice if we had more water bodies around. Yeah,
it's like the river, but, in wintertime, sometimes the river's high and flowing and
dirty.
Yeah.
So we realized in the beginning we couldn't rely on that water body. Kind of drove us to putting the cold plunges on the back of the trailer.
Yeah. So your trailer can tow sauna and this cold plunges easily.
Yeah, so I think the sauna, the big trailer weighs about 3 ton. So our car can tow 3.5 ton, and then On certain days, there will be IBC in the back of the truck, and that weighs 1,000 kilos as well. So luckily, we've got a big truck that can do all of that.
So you have electric brakes, right, on your trailer?
Yep. Yeah. So I think, anything over
2 tons, I
2
think.
ton, you need electric brakes.
Hmm.
We're just like, just put it on there. We've got the breakaway as well. So as much as we could get onto the trailer to make it safe and easy to tow, we did.
Just didn't figure out a way to correct the glass or steps. I noticed you guys have a good step mechanism. That was like, for thought process, how do people get onto the trailer?
Yeah.
Still working that out.
So we had stairs built by the sauna builder to kind of match the design.
Yeah.
Worked in the beginning, but then I mismeasured and we made it a little bit too wide, so it couldn't really fit onto the back deck. So it'd always go into the back of the truck. So when we move and set up, that was a bit of a nightmare. So then we've had another local friend help us by mounting a ramp. So now the ramp goes onto the back deck. It'll be able to slide underneath the trailer as well. So you just slide it out and then hook it up. And that's been working pretty well so far. So it's just, as you kind of go, just, learning more and more about how things actually work.
Totally, I think 1,800 kilograms. So like the trailer and the sauna on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were stressing out. I was like, well, because the trailer itself, I think like 1,200 kilograms at least. So we were like, we were like counting like, okay, we have like a spine and this and chimney and stove and 90 kilograms of stones. And, it's like all adds up. And then like when we finished, we drove into this like weighbridge and like, under 2 tons. Okay. And we even have some like gap, maybe like to put the cold plunge on top of the deck if we need to move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
We realized pretty quickly, like, we can't move it with water in the plunges because, each plunge holds about 350 to 400 liters. So there's 800 kilos of weight just in that back area. So, it would have just like ripped them completely off the back deck. And so in the beginning, the legs that came with the trailer, we realized weren't necessarily structurally rated to handle a couple 100 kilos directly on that area. So luckily, like I think the week before we picked it up, the builder, we added some like more heavy duty support legs. So those have been very much needed just to, when you get it on the ground, level it out. And then just like, we know it's going to hold the 800 plus kilos in that back corner.
Why don't you want to put cold plunges just next to sauna? Why it should be on?
Moving them, just kind of, then you got to have them in the back of the truck.
Better.
We just found, because then when we go to events, it's just one unit, nice and easy. So it's just, I found my dad and I, we did the Great Victorian Bike Ride. So went on the road for 4 days, and that was just a lot of stuff to take and to move around, even with the cold plunges built in. So we found it was just easier to have it all in one spot. Whereas if you start adding things externally, we wouldn't have had the ability to get it all there in one trip.
Yep.
And there's a little changing room in there too. So it's, I don't know, I just wanted everything. I don't know.
The change room built in, right? It's like 2 doors.
Yeah, which is where we
inside.
put the, like a double space to use for the chiller unit, which we're still need to figure out how to let it breathe.
That's up there.
Airflow. Airflow, but all part of this fun idea of one unit for everything. I don't know why. I just thought this should be possible. We can get to the moon. We can do this. But it's a bit tricky. People were like, oh, where are we? Some people are a little bit, they're nervous. If we were at a market, they're like, well, where are we going to get changed? I'm like, well, don't worry. It's all here for you.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's.
So how is it happening? So one person entering this changing room and then they go to sauna and then another one entering changing room.
A lot of what happens is we tend to tell people like, hey, arrive in your bathing suit. Makes it a little bit quicker and easier. But yeah, a lot of people just, they'll just go in there one at a time, do their thing.
You can store your stuff.
You can store your stuff as little cubby holes. And everyone just jumps into the sauna. So they either do it like as one big group or they just go in individually. As we found, like each group's slightly different depending on like if it's a private or if it's like a bunch of shared people. And everyone just kind of over time they find their flow, they find their timing, and it just each session it varies so much depending on who.
Yeah, true. Do you have any interesting, I don't know, like funny or any stories you want to share about clients, events, anything?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is we were heading out to Harrietville to do a market. Early morning, I hadn't really prepped as much as I should have. Driving along, and then all of a sudden the stands for the sauna fall off the back of the truck and are dragging on the road. So thankfully he built them very strong. They didn't break. They just kind of ground off a little bit, and we're still using.
This is why I want to go behind him every time we go to an event to make sure nothing's going to fall off the trailer. And of course yeah.
Early mornings, not my best time, but I forget a lot of things. I've broken one of the legs on the smaller sauna because I was moving it, didn't put it up, so I dragged that along the ground.
Customer-wise, I'm just trying to think of anything with them, but everyone's pretty... The coolest thing is like going from being in hospitality where you have not mostly angry customers, but they have a different attitude, and where this wellness space, it's such a different interaction with guests where we still get to meet people and socialize with them, but in a different way where they're just in a different mood and different state, and afterwards they're so happy and blissful, and you're just like, I'm so glad you got to experience this, and they're just like want to hug you. You're like,
It's been great just seeing like the locals in the beginning that had never sauna before, and then they came that one time with a friend, or like when we were at the gym, and they just fell in love, and they're like, this is great, I love this. And then now they're some of our like most regular customers. Like there was one lady that was, in the beginning, she was seeing us every day that we were open. So she was here 4 or 5 days a week, that consist throughout the middle of last year. So it's really been good to like have those regulars that love it so much. They didn't know they'd like it in the beginning, and now there's like, this is the best thing ever.
And then also so much better. That's like the quickest thing they'll say to us is, I slept so good.
Yeah.
So
do you feel like you need to educate people, or people like happy to try something new?
I find it's about 50-50.
Yeah. Every time
people don't care, they're like, whatever, I'm going to get on with this. And we're like, okay, fine. You just kind of read the audience of how they feel about it. But some people luckily are actually curious of like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah. What is this doing to my body? Like, what benefits am I getting? So a lot of people that they kind of sauna like once every now and then, they're kind of more curious about, should I be doing this more? What am I going to get out of it? It's always nice to ask people when they show up, have you sauna before? And for the most part, a lot of people haven't done many saunas. Done it once, but not kind of in this, I guess, commercial like setting where you do like 3 rounds in and out, that whole thing. They haven't really done that style. So it's been good, I guess, to educate people like what's happening to their bodies while they're in the sauna and then while they're in the plunge.
But it takes it takes a bit of time, in that there's so much science around it, and people are throwing around all this information, and to try to break that down into simple terms to be able to tell people in a way that they can understand has been a little bit, challenging of how to say it or how to summarize it, because it can get a bit sciencey in a way, depending on the source. But it's still, I think it's still worth it. Still worth it to let people know. But also like the safety of it does, it can make me a little bit worried of people's health conditions, and not everybody should do the cold. And some people think as much cold as possible, and as long as they can, and then you kind of have to reel it back to like, this is what the data shows and this is what is safe. And so it's one of those, people will do what they want to do, but it's good to give them the safety precautions.
How many minutes do you recommend in cold plunge?
Like what, 1 to 3?
1 to 3, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
if you've got a big group of 6 people, or like 5 people, like you kind of need to keep turning through people so that, the session doesn't go too long. So that's where we're kind of like 10 to 15 in the hot. If it's feeling too much, come on out. And then, just do a couple minutes in the cold, rinse off with the shower, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just kind of managing the time for everyone. So some people are like, I wanted to go 4 minutes. And like, well, we kind of need to like chew through the other people, get them through the cold plunge as well. So it's...
And they fine when you tell them that you should like...
Yeah, like, look, you don't need as long as you really think. And they're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but so it's 11 minutes total for the week. So, divvy it up among your days and see what happens. But I don't know. I would say it just needs to be shocking for you for a little bit. But if it's not, then we probably need to give them some colder.
Yeah. How hot is your wood fire sauna?
Gets a little crazy in there.
Yeah. So I tend to aim between 85 and 95. And it really, like, so many different factors go into the temperature of the room, and like, okay, how many people are in there? How many people are going in and out? Are they forgetting the door and not shutting it? How much water are they putting into the rocks? How open is that the little vent at the bottoms? Took me a good while to kind of play with it and figure out the best way to hold temperature at the same temp. So different wood, we use a mixture of red gum and yellow box. So I found different size pieces of each wood, do different things, and just keeping that nice base, keeping that burning for, 6+ hours of the day. So yeah, aim between 85 and 95 for that range is I find the best. Every now and then, if a group's running late and I kind of leave the airflow a bit going, it can creep up to 100 and change quite easily, especially if we have a break in between sessions. Luckily, you can just open the door and just try and get as much of that hot air out, so when people show up, it's not just like in your face, I'm melting.
Yeah. I was the same. I feel like it's either stays at 80 or it's getting 100, 110. And some people love it. I had one German client and we just started and it was like hot, 110. And he came and I was like, it's 110 in there. Be very careful. Maybe sit on the lower bench. And he's like, that's why I'm here. I like it hot. And he was sitting, like 20 minutes in there. But he's like super experienced. He like doing saunas like from being 5 years old and all the time. So he like, proper sauna bather. But yeah.
It might be helpful to, it's hard to work out the system of booking, but it'd be nice to know more details of people coming in, like have you sauna before? Because one time I had a few coming in who'd never done it before, and it happened to be the day that I was trying to do the fire and I hadn't done it in a while, and it was so hot. And the poor thing, I mean, they had to sit on the bottom, but I would love it if they can sit on the top, but I should have had it a little bit cooler for them if it was their first time. It's like, oh, darn it. I wish I knew at time.
We had a lot of local customers that in the beginning, like they were more and more frequently, and so they just got heat adapted to the higher temps. Like, if I knew they'd booked in, cool, I'll run it a little bit hotter for them to like, 95, even up to like, high 90s, even 100. They then didn't show up for, a month or so, and then they got back in and they were like, okay, it's too hot at that point that we were, so we had to like get them back up to that heat.
Yeah, it's annoying, a little bit annoying that with wood fire sauna, it's a bit harder to control.
Yeah.
Because I wish we could stay at some like 90 degrees, let's say. But it's like fluctuates so much.
Yeah. So like I go in maybe like 10 or 15 and just like have a look, peer in if like, the temperature's still good. Just make sure the wood's still kind of burning. Luckily, so that room that we've got on the big sauna is so well insulated. We've got a huge window, but it's triple glazed.
Triple glazed, wow.
Glazed on the big one. So
does make it hard for photography, but
yeah, you can't really see during the day. Like outside cold, inside hot. So we're not losing as much heat through that large window. So we'll run the sauna. It'll be at 90 degrees. We'll shut it down. 2+ hours later, it's still like, high 70s, mid 70s. So it's very well insulated and keeps a lot of heat in that room. So I found it works pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have double glazed window, and it was so hard to find. I've only found one company in the area. Like, I called maybe 15 and everyone told me, ask these guys.
Yeah.
One company who could make for us the custom-made double glazed window. But triple glazed, it's even, I didn't know that it exists in Australia. Like in Russia, all windows are triple glazed because it's so cold. Yeah. But in Australia, triple glazed, it doesn't, not very common.
Yeah. We're redoing our windows at home because it gets very cold here in the winter and gets very hot in the summer. So
they're secret.
We're going European style windows that are triple glazed because it's just going to be way more efficient.
Mm-hmm. What saunas are you following?
So I'm trying to follow them all. They're all looking so good. We've got all the Tassie ones and trying to do all the Victorian ones, and then ones up in the Nordic area. Yeah. You just went to a couple of them.
I went to a whole bunch in Finland, so it was good to see them.
Who did you go to? In
Loyal.
Helsinki? Loli?
Yeah. There's a big one there. A few in Sweden, Norway, a lot in the UK. Also some in the United States as well. Mm-hmm. There's more and more popping up everywhere. You just kind of, every time you see one that looks nice and you're like, cool, I like what they're doing, we'll just chuck them a follow and hopefully at some point be able to go to all of these saunas and go visit them.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I really admire the boat people. Like, wow, they're operating a boat. Their whole mission, but that's a pretty cool mobile sauna, I think. So the Tasmanians, the sauna boat, and what's the other one? Kuma? Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good. Everyone's doing a good job, though.
Yeah, it's good that, the sauna culture in Australia is growing and there's more of us popping up everywhere. Like, I feel like it'll become that thing where each town has a sauna of some sort at some stage. So it's really good that, it's a growing community and we all kind of talk to each other and like ask each other questions and all kind of helping each other as best as we can.
Yeah. Anything else, guys, you planned to tell me, but I didn't ask?
It's like we've covered pretty much everything in regards to the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else too exciting.
Yeah. It's just been a fun industry to, be a part of and help grow and learn as much as we can. I guess, share this love of this thing that, we're still new to and just kind of share it with the local community and then the broader community that comes up to our area and just kind of see how that grows over time.
Should be around for a while. I think it's like something that, should withstand the test of time. It's such a good activity in so many ways for people, like health and social. It's a new way for people to catch up. People are finding that this is where they'll catch up instead of going for a coffee or something, which I think is really cool.
Like wellness and like people's individual health is becoming more of a priority for people, and they're looking at more ways that they can kind of add this to their daily routine and what can they do to help them, be healthier for longer. So thankfully, saunas have got huge benefits for all of those. Yeah, it's becoming a big thing. Yeah,
true. Yeah, well, I hope City Council also will think the same.
Yeah.
Some moment.
Yeah.
Expand your mind.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much for agreeing to meet me. You're the first one that I interviewed.
First one, fun.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. That was our first interview. Tell us, guys, what you think. What else should we ask our guest? And maybe you have some ideas or want to be a guest on our interview. Let us know in the comments. Thank you.